Mauricio Sulaiman, Turki Alashikh unveil WBC Grand Prix of boxing. What does this mean? As you can see here, Hamburg, Germany. Mauricio Sulaiman, this is the WBC convention. Mauricio Sulaiman and Turki, actually, was it the WBC convention? Let me rewind, remix it. Not sure if it was WBC convention, but anyway, some type of meeting. Hamburg, Germany. Mauricio Sulaiman and Turki Alashikh have announced the WBC Grand Prix of boxing. The announcement came, it was in the next line, it is the convention. Messing up already. The announcement came at the 62nd annual World Boxing Council convention on Monday. The Grand Prix will be a World Cup of the sport, a tournament featuring 128 prospects across 4 weight classes, and was a dream of Mauricio's late father, Jose, the former WBC head. The entrants will be no older than 26 and have no more than 10 fights to their name. The tournament will start in February and feature quarterfinals and semifinals over 8 rounds, with the 10-round finals to take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now, Eddie Hearn has been banging on about how you can't coddle prospects. He wants to find out as a businessman what he's working with. He wants to test his prospects on the way up to see whether it's actually worth continuing to invest money in them. Now, there's 2 ways you could look at that. One way you could say, well, certain prospects, if you do take them slowly and build them over a longer period of time, they may unlock their potential and come good for you in the end. And I'm sure there are, in fact, I know there are many fighters out there who prospered being progressed in that way, because not all fighters are going to progress at the same rate. Some guys can be fast-tracked and they will succeed doing that. Other fighters, if you fast-track them, it's going to go disastrously wrong. So it's really something that should be taken on a case-by-case basis. It shouldn't be, one size fits all. In any event, the boxing Grand Prix, the WBC, and Turki Alashikh, have announced 128 prospects, 4 weight classes. Yeah, this is like some type of almost league situation. It's a tournament of sorts, right? But the number of people in it, and presumably this is going to be a reoccurring thing. It's like a league. So which prospects are going to want to go in there? Will the blue chip boxing prospects want to go in? Do they believe in their ability that much? Do their promoters believe in their ability that much? Or are we going to get a bunch of, I don't want to say second rate, but unknown prospects going in this? I guess it depends on the money, right? If the money is good enough, then fighters of the highest level will enter a tournament. I mean, just look at the World Boxing Super Series, right? Loads of good fighters in that because the money was too good to turn down. So it should be interesting. I'd like to hear some of the names who are being proposed for this particular event. Yeah, I'd like to hear maybe some Olympians in there, maybe some of the more well-known prospects from the stables of these major promoters. That would get me excited for this. I mean, even if we don't get that, because Turki Alashikh is involved, because the WBC are behind it, you're bound to get at least some talent in there. Maybe some undiscovered talent. Yeah, one of these fighters who's kind of flown under the radar in the amateurs a little bit. I mean, a little bit of an example of what I'm talking about might be George Groves, because George Groves, of course, didn't win any, to my knowledge anyway, major international tournaments. He was, I think, a GB boxer, but he flew under the radar a little bit when he turned pro. He didn't get all the fanfare that James DeGale got, for example, his rival, who did win a major international tournament, a gold medal at the Olympics. And you got other fighters even more so under the radar. This is a much better example, Dylan White. Dylan White, very few amateur fights, came from a kickboxing background, turned pro, and although he never became champion, he made a very good career for himself. Plenty of money, pay-per-views, fought for the heavyweight title. So will this event, this Grand Prix, unearth some fighters like that who are diamonds in the rough? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, all right? But to continue reading here, it says the weight classes contested. I should have read this before, really, but here we go. The weight classes contested in this Grand Prix will be featherweight, junior welterweight, middleweight, and heavyweight. I'm not sure why not welterweight. Why they've gone for junior welterweight instead, because these are the classic divisions, or several of the classic divisions. Featherweight is one of them. Welterweight another, middleweight and heavyweight. Why junior welterweight rather than welterweight? Bit strange, but there you go. It says earlier in the evening, Alashikh was named as the WBC Man of the Year. Well, yeah. An award previously won by Ronald Reagan, Nelson Mandela, and Pope Francis. Damn. I thought WBC's Man of the Year was like a boxing related man. But no, apparently it's like Man of the Year globally, right? And right the way across human society. So they've put Turki Alashikh in the same category as religious leaders and political leaders. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll move on. Alashikh addressed the audience and urged Vladimir Klitschko, the former heavyweight champion, to come out of retirement to consider a fight with either the winner of the Alexander Usyk-Tyson Fury bout on December 21 or the February 22nd contest between IBF title holder Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? That Klitschko thing. If Klitschko was going to come back and try and break George Foreman's record, why didn't he do it a few years ago? Right? George Foreman was 45 when he beat Michael Moorer to become the oldest heavyweight champion in history. Why didn't Vladimir Klitschko come back when he was like 45 and a half or whatever, just older than Foreman, and try to do it then? Why wait till now? At these kind of ages, the physical deterioration is exponential. So those couple of years since are going to make a big difference, in my estimation anyway. So we'll throw it over to the chat room. Let me know what you guys think about this boxing Grand Prix. Shout out to Charles B. Fatality D&B says, mind the crocodiles. Oh, there's crocodiles. Oh, I've actually got some footage of the crocodiles. Yeah, punch quote, you bang on. That's right. A Boogie with the Hoodie. I don't like any of his other songs, but that particular song I like. It's catchy. Fatality D&B also says, Hatman likes this auto-tune feature. I do indeed. I actually don't use it enough. Kylie says, nice way to make an entrance. Punch quote says, send your prospect to Top Rank. JDM says, 32 fighters per division. Is there 32 good prospects in each division? Well, there probably isn't. Certainly isn't. But when you're dealing with young fighters who have got a lot to prove, chip on their shoulder, high testosterone, not fully developed, wet behind the ears, what you tend to get is good fights. What you tend to get is upsets, actually. Yeah? If you match young fighters against each other, let's say one that's a blue chip prospect and another one who's kind of under the radar, there's a higher chance that the under the radar guy might take it because even the blue chip prospect has got a chip on his shoulder. Young guys tend to do reckless things in the ring more so than older, more seasoned fighters. So while there might not be, 32 excellent prospects, top level prospects, I still expect some upsets in there, and I still expect some unheralded, unknown fighters to emerge as talents. Black Dynamite says the problem is that Warren and Hearn will fill the tournament with their crappy fighters, a bunch of Mark Chamberlains and Campbell Hattons. They might do. But again, it depends on how much Turki Alashikh is going to pay, right? If Turki Alashikh is willing to pay the prospects more, significantly more, than Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren would pay them for taking on journeymen, then it might be difficult for them to keep the fighters out of the tournament. Charles B says, Hammond, did you see the Atama McKean face-off face-to-face? I haven't seen it yet, no. I'll watch it after this stream. Actually, no, tell a lie. I started watching it, but the mediator started annoying me. Then I had to turn it off. Is there something significant in the face-off that I should go and check out? Because that mediator, I was like, no, I can't do this. I was actually about to watch, and I saw, but I didn't start watching, the Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen face-off. That's the one I was actually interested in, because, you know, you look at Dempsey McCain, he doesn't really say much, does he? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys who have seen the face-off will tell me different, but Dempsey McCain's kind of a bit of a boring character. Thomas Martin says, and big up Team Batman Boxing. Thomas Martin says, would you prefer to see a Boxing Royal Rumble out battle royale where opponents are eliminated if they get knocked down, buzzer every 2 minutes with a new boxer running in the ring, last man standing? There probably already is something like that over in Eastern Europe. Whenever I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, I always see some crazy new type of combat sport in Poland or Russia or one of these Eastern European countries. You know, like phone booth boxing. I seen that. I seen boxing, well, MMA fighting, where there's like one fat out of shape guy against 2 females. That's crazy. I've seen a fight where it was like 2 MMA guys against a giant bodybuilding weightlifting guy. In fact, was it Eddie Hall who partook in that? Eddie Hall against 2 smaller guys. There's all kind of weird stuff going on out there. I saw some sport, if you can call it that, where people dress up in like old knights armor with chainmail and all that, and they hit each other with swords, and it's wild out there. So, and I'm sure there has been like tag team boxing. Literally, you get knocked down, the other guy jumps in. I'm sure there's been that. It's a crazy era right now. Wave says he's interested in seeing Klitschko back. Well, if Klitschko can get in there and beat somebody in the top 10 first, then it will make it interesting. Yeah. But I don't want to see him just get a straight crack at the heavyweight title. That's not right. But if he can get in there and beat somebody in the top 10 first, and then one of the champions fights him as a voluntary, okay, cool. He needs to get himself ranked by fighting somebody in the top 10 as far as I'm concerned. Charles B says, he was saying that Tama will target Parker afterwards. Well, I want Atama to target the winner of Dubois Parker, irrespective of who it is, whether it's Dubois or Parker. They're all Frank Warren fighters. So I want to see him target the winner and try to break Mike Tyson's record. It's going to be very difficult to do because he's going to get it done before May, but there's still a chance. You know, if Frank Warren would make that fight, I'd like to see it. That is far more interesting to me. You know, seeing Atama challenge the winner of Dubois Parker is more interesting to me than seeing the winner of that fight take on Vladimir Klitschko. I'd rather see the youngest heavyweight champion in history than the oldest heavyweight champion in history record broken. Because I think the oldest heavyweight champion in the history record is going to be more difficult. The youngest heavyweight champion in history record is going to be more difficult to break. The oldest heavyweight champion in history, that record can be broken more easily in my estimation. Still not easy, but more easily. Anyway, let's move on to some more boxing discussion here. I briefly mentioned this in the the stream the other day. Martin Bakole, in my opinion, is being frozen out by people associated with Daniel Dubois. That's my opinion. They want to keep this guy as far away from Dubois as possible because they don't want Ben Shalom having his foot in the door. They don't want Ben Shalom having a stake in the heavyweight division. I'm no massive fan of Ben Shalom or anything like that, but I'm also no massive fan of boxing politics, which robs the fans of fights that we want to see. And I'm disappointed that Turki Alashikh, who's done great things in boxing, has allowed boxing politics to creep back in, because he was surely the guy that was looking to stamp it all out. But somehow Martin Bakole and Ajit Kabayel gets mandated for the IBF final eliminator, winner gets Daniel Dubois, and Ajit Kabayel pulls out. His excuse was BS, saying that Martin Bakole asked for too much money. A purse bid is there to sort out an impasse in negotiations. So all Ajit Kabayel had to do if Bakole was asking for too much money was go through with the purse bid. Then the purses are determined by whatever the winning bid is. And by the way, Kabayel would have got 60% of the purse in a purse bid because he was the higher ranked. Go look at the IBF rules. So he turned down a 60-40 split against Martin Bakole, is what Kabayel did. All this stuff about Bakole priced himself out is BS. And same with Zheli Zhang. I like Zhang, but he was talking rubbish as well. When they asked him about why he's not fighting Martin Bakole, he said, oh, well, I was never made an offer. You don't need to be made an offer. There was a purse bid. You pulled out of the purse bid, or pulled out before the purse bid had taken place. That's what Zheli Zhang did. And then lo and behold, just by coincidence, I'm sure, the two guys who pulled out of the Bakole fight are fighting each other for the WBC interim. Yeah. Just a coincidence. Now, you might argue that the WBC interim is actually better because it's a slightly higher status than a mandatory challenger. You could make that argument because when you're WBC interim, let's say the champion's inactive or the champion vacates, you'll immediately be elevated to full champion. That's normally how it works. You won't need to then fight another person for the vacant belt. You'll just be immediately elevated. Whereas if you're mandatory challenger, sometimes you will be elevated to full champion. For example, Lennox Lewis, he was mandatory for Riddick Bowe and he was elevated to full champion when Bowe vacated the belt. But on other occasions, you'll have to fight somebody for the vacant belt. They won't necessarily elevate you. In fact, Daniel Dubois was also elevated, wasn't he? He was IBF mandatory, right? Because he beat Filip Hrgović and then they elevated him. So sometimes that does happen. But supposedly, interim champion is a slightly enhanced version of a mandatory challenger. So you could try and make some type of argument that Zhang and Kabayel did the right thing, the thing that was best for them by not fighting Bakole and fighting each other instead. But the flip side of that would be to say, well, the IBF tend to expedite their mandatories a lot quicker than the WBC, including interim champions and all that. I mean, for example, Joseph Parker is interim with the WBO, or was. I'm not sure if he's still going to be. We're going to have a look at the heavyweight rankings in a minute. I think he's still listed as interim champion on there, but presumably when he fights Daniel Dubois, he can no longer be interim champion with the WBO. I don't know. You know how boxing rules are so convoluted. But yeah, Joseph Parker was WBO interim champion, or has been WBO interim champion for quite some time. And they haven't pushed for him to get a shot at the proper full WBO title, have they? WBO themselves I'm talking about here. So just because you're WBC interim champion, whoever the winner is between Zhang and Kabayel, it doesn't mean they're going to get a title shot or become WBC champion, elevated to it quickly, necessarily. Whereas the IBF have got a track record of really being punctual, let's just say, with their champions having to make mandatory defenses. Sometimes they make exceptions, and you know, here and there, you could talk about Errol Spence, you could talk about Usyk even, because he was trying to make the undisputed fight. But for the most part, the IBF expedite their mandatories. Yeah. And so, you know, taking that into account, you could say, nah, Kabayel and Zhang, either of them would have been better off fighting Bakole if they won a title shot sooner rather than later. You know, my take on it is, as I said earlier on, the people associated with Daniel Dubois want to keep Martin Bakole away, and they don't want Ben Shalom having a stake in the heavyweight division. So they're trying to freeze him out. And my view is that they do see Martin Bakole as very, very dangerous for Daniel Dubois specifically. I'm not here telling you that Martin Bakole is going to dominate the heavyweight division and that he's unbeatable. I'm not telling you any of that. I'm just telling you that in my view, Dubois' people think Bakole is very dangerous for them. And they're trying to keep him away. Anyway, let's have a look at the heavyweight rankings here. So here we are. In fact, let's just check the live chat real quick. Make sure there's no super chats here. Just checking. Don't want to miss anyone's super chat if they sent one. All right, not in there. All right, we will continue. Matt says Bakole is a funny one because he's a stylistic nightmare, but also beatable. Yeah, I mean, I say everyone's beatable. But I know what you mean. Leah Potts says, True Geordie just uploaded a round by round Usyk, and it's undeniable. 9-3 Usyk, clear win. The narrative it was close is insane. We'll come on to that in a second, actually. Chris Ward Music says Bakole frozen out is absolutely ludicrous. What, you're saying that Bakole hasn't been frozen out? Or you're saying that it's ludicrous that they froze him out? Because as far as I can tell, they've definitely frozen him out. Why would two guys pull out of purse bids to fight him? How do you explain that? And then those two guys who pulled out of the purse bid to face Bakole are now fighting each other? What's that all about? Okay, Robert Kelly says, are you messaging from prison? I assume not. But anyway, Robert Kelly says, if I'm wrong, let me know. But aside from Anderson, who is Bakole beaten of any note? I don't think anyone, to be fair. And I'd agree with you. But that's not the point, is it? Well, no one's saying that Bakole's like the best in the world or anything like that. It's just about the fact that he didn't, or the guys who were ordered to fight him in Zheli Zhang and Ajit Kabayel chose not to, and then fought each other instead. Like, what is all that about? Do you know what I mean? What is all that about? And here's the thing as well. Long before this situation, it must have been 6 months ago or more. It may have just been after the Bakole Anderson fight. Everybody was clamoring for, it was either around that time, before or after that, just before or after. Everybody was clamoring for Martin Bakole versus Zheli Zhang, and Turki Alashikh actually said he's going to try and make the fight. You guys remember that? Turki Alashikh said he was going to try and make Martin Bakole versus Zheli Zhang. And what did Frank Warren do? He came out shortly afterwards and shot down the idea of Zhang Bakole. Why would he do that? What's wrong with Zhang Bakole? At the time, Zhang was coming off a loss, right? He'd lost to Joseph Parker, and they're talking about Zhang Bakole. Yeah, why not? Then he went on to beat Wilder. Again, Zhang Bakole, it's a very interesting stylistic matchup. You know, people say, what's Bakole done? What had Zhang done before he was partaking in Riyadh season? In terms of wins on his record, there was nobody there. Right? So everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody's got to get an opportunity somewhere. And so, yeah, Bakole doesn't have a great resume. But who's clamoring to fight him? If he's no good, and if it's an easy path to a heavyweight title, then why did Zhang and Caballero pull out? This is the question you have to ask yourself. Anyway, let's get back to this these heavyweight rankings here. As you can see, Daniel Dubois, IBF champion. Usyk, WBA champion. They haven't updated the WBA rankings here, clearly, because they've still got Manuel Charr as regular champion. We know it's Kubrat Pulev. They also haven't updated the IBF because Caballero and Zhang both turned down final eliminators with Martin Bakole, so presumably when the IBF update their rankings, Caballero and Zhang are going to drop down several places. Anyway, Usyk, WBA champion, regular champion being Pulev. Usyk also WBC champion. WBO champion also Usyk, but Parker is interim for now. We'll see how that goes. Martin Bakole is ranked number 1 with the WBA, and he is basically de facto number 1 with the IBF. Number 3 with the WBC. Somehow, even though he's number 3, he's ranked above Zheli Zhang. He's not fighting for the interim WBC title. Somehow it's Zhang and Caballero. I mean, explain that one to me. And then you've got him, is Bakole at all? Yeah, Bakole's number 3 with the WBO. So that's where we're at. I do wish these sanctioning bodies would update their rankings more regularly. But if you look at some of the names in there who people are not that familiar with, Guido Vianello, some of you guys may know him, an Italian fighter who fought Efe Ajagba, pushed him close. Justice Hooney, he's an Eddie Hearn fighter from Australia. DeAndre Savage, I'm not sure if I've actually seen him fight. He's the WBA number 15 heavyweight. Not sure I've seen him. Might have looked him up once, but I don't recall who he was, what he looked like, or how good he was. Ivan Ditchko was a good amateur for many years. He wasn't the top super heavyweight amateur, but he was there or thereabouts. He was in a lot of the big tournaments. He actually lost to AJ in the Olympics. So Ivan Ditchko, I'm not sure why he's, why his progress as a professional has been so slow. I know what he's been doing. Cassius Chaney, why is he still ranked so high at number 11 by the WBA? His fight with Michael Hunter was awful. Chaney didn't throw any damn punches. If it was up to me, he'd be dropped out the top 15 altogether. Honestly, that was an awful performance. He also, Cassius Chaney, lost to George Arias, which was a shocker. So how that guy's ranked so high, I'm not sure. Who else is in there? Murat Gassiev, Mike Perez is a bizarre one. Not sure why he's in there. Pulev is now champion, as we know, regular champion. Got him messing his name up already. Lenia Perro. He's a Cuban fighter who, again, is in obscurity right now. He seems okay. I've had a look at him. Doesn't seem anything special, but, you know, Cubans have usually got a trick up their sleeve or two. So, Lenia Perro. Who else is here now? WBC number 15, Murad Aliyev. Is he an Eddie Hearn fighter? Aliyev? I think he might be an Eddie Hearn fighter. Who else we got there? Okay. Everybody else in the WBC is quite well known. Then the WBO, Bakadir Jalilov is, you know, if he stops messing around with amateur boxing, he's a serious problem in the heavyweight division. Then you got number 12 with the WBO, Nelson Heisa. I'm not sure if I know him. Jermaine Franklin, I know. A few others there. Okay. Let's have a look at the live chat. If you guys can give me any information on any of these obscure fighters I mentioned who I'm not too familiar with. noticed the last couple times I've done live streams, the chat is lagging a little bit. Not sure what that's about. Is it my internet or is it YouTube? I don't know. Robert Kelly says, Heiser is some 40-year-old Albanian. Recently beat Bracamonte. Shout out to Am I Dead Yet? Shout out to Afro Soul. Shout out to Cassar Calling. A 40-year-old Albanian. Say no more. Joel Schulman, he gets it. He says, how can you attain a great resume when things like this happen? Bacoli can't beat Caballero Jain because they ain't fighting him. Exactly. Black Dynamite says, did Roberto Camarel ever turn pro? No, he didn't. I'm not sure why. Because he was a very good fighter. He was a policeman, actually, by profession, Roberto Camarel. So I guess he's still doing his police work. Anyway, let's move on to a little bit of Usyk stuff here as we count down to the rematch with Tyson Fury. There was somebody who left a comment on my last live stream that I did yesterday about the Daniel Dubois low blow against Usyk. And he said, it is debatable. You're showing your bias. I'm going to try to stay calm here because the one thing that gets me vexed, annoyed, angry, upset more than anything else is stupidity. When somebody is stupid and unreasonable, it really grinds my gears. The person who wrote that comment was stupid, hence blocked. Because I laid out for you with receipts, with examples, why it's not debatable. To show you on screen here again, this is a quote from the DAZN website from a referee explaining what a low blow is. The hip line is a line, imaginary line across your waist horizontally from the top of the hips. So if you dig your fingers in, you can feel the top of your hips. It should be an inch or two below your belly button. That's the hip line. You see, some people have got this misguided notion that in order for something to be classed as a low blow, it literally has to be in the family jewels. It has to be in your testicles. That's where the blow has to land. No, you idiot. It doesn't need to land there to be a low blow. God, yeah, I'm getting upset. It's just the stupidity, man. No. A low blow is anything below the hip line. If the majority of the glove, as it says on screen here, the quote from the referee, if the majority of the glove is below the hip line, it is a low blow. That's the rule. Okay? Get it? Got it? Good. So now we just need to establish where the hip line is on Alexander Usyk. Okay? There is Alexander Usyk's belly button. So if we're measuring an inch or an inch and a half, 2 inches even, let's be generous, below the belly button, the hip line should be somewhere around the middle, halfway down his waistband. That should be roughly where the hip line is, right? Roughly. Yeah? Then we have a look at the Daniel Dubois low blow. I've marked a yellow line to show you where I've actually moved the yellow line down a bit to be generous to Dubois, to make out as though the hip line might be slightly lower than I said it was on the previous picture. Okay, we're being as generous to Dubois as possible. The hip line I've drawn here is actually damn near at the bottom of his waistband. Is the majority of Daniel Dubois' glove below that line? Yes, it is. Do you know what that means? It means it's a low blow. There's nothing more to debate. Okay? The hip line is right there. Unless there's some demented people out there who think that Alexander Usyk's hip line is like, 3 inches lower than that line. I mean, what kind of weird anatomy would he have? It's not debatable. It was a low blow because most of Dubois' glove was clearly below the hip line. End of story. But these sick people who are still, oh no, it's debate. No, it's not debatable. You're just a moron. If you've seen this and you're still trying to say it's debatable, you are a moron. Blocked. I don't deal with morons. Anyway, I saw a video. I didn't watch the video, didn't click on it, because I don't want my brain to become infected with stupidity. Not that it could, but I don't want my brain to be scrambled by stupidity. That's probably a better way to describe it. I saw a thumbnail, clearly from a Fury fanboy, popped up. You know the way the suggested videos pop up on YouTube? I saw this video pop up. And the title of the video was, Will Fury Get Robbed Again? Will Fury get... Like I said, these people are sick. These people are sick, like seriously. These people are sick. Tyson Fury, Frank Warren fighter, big promoter, very close to Turki Alashikh. It's a Turki Alashikh Riyadh season show. Fury gets outlanded with high impact punches and outlanded with punches overall over the course of 12 rounds. Fact. Gets knocked down. And somehow you say Fury was robbed? You are sick, man. You're sick in the head. Let me show you some stats from an organization or a service, which in my view, from what I've seen, the limited time that this service has been available, is actually superior to CompuBox because it's AI assisted. And that is a website service called Jabber, Jabbr. And they did the punch stats for the first Usyk Fury fight on BT, or TNT as it is now. Go check out the TNT version of the fight. I think it might actually appear on other versions as well. But you'll see the Jabber statistics come up at various points throughout the fight. But you can go to the Jabber website. Again, they did the punch counting for TNT, which is Tyson Fury's network. All right? That's who TNT got to do it. And as you can see here, Alexander Usyk outlanded Fury with punches overall. He also doubled the number of high impact punches that Tyson Fury landed. And this is despite the fact that Fury actually threw more. So Fury threw more than Usyk, but landed less and did less damage. Pressure, you can see there. Aggression, you can see there. All right? Not sure how you measure aggression versus pressure, but whatever. And here are some more stats from that fight. Okay? And it fits perfectly to what I saw. Tyson Fury is the red line. Alexander Usyk is the blue line. Okay, you look at the early rounds. Look at the top graph, yeah? Punches per round, number of punches landed per round, right? And you can see in the early rounds, Usyk has landed more punches up until about round 5, 6. Then Tyson Fury lands more punches. And then round 7, 8, and for the rest of the fight, it's Usyk landed more punches in every other round. That's what I saw. I've said this multiple times. Outside of those middle rounds, Tyson Fury wasn't landing many significant shots, but Usyk was, loads of them. High impact punches, similar situation, right? Look there. In the early rounds, Usyk has landed more high impact punches. I don't know how people managed to miss that. It's clear as day, right? He was landing the more damaging shots. in the first 3 rounds. Then Tyson Fury from round 4, 5, 6, he started landing more damaging shots. Round 7, they've got it about even in terms of damaging shots landed. Again, that correlates with exactly what I saw. And then for the rest of the fight, it's Usyk dominating in terms of heavy shots landed. Punches thrown. Fury outthrew Usyk in most of the rounds, but landed less. So while Fury's running around talking about, oh, Usyk was easier to hit than I expected, the thing that he should be concerned about is the fact that he was easier to hit than Usyk was. So, I mean, Fury's the one who acts like he's the heavyweight Mayweather, and yet he got hit far more than Usyk did, especially with big shots. So he needs to be more concerned about his own defense and why he got hit so much rather than, oh, Usyk was so easy to hit. Anyway, then it's pressure and aggression and whatever. So, you know, for there's still to be people out there saying, oh, Fury got robbed. These people are sick. They're sick, man. The mind of a fanboy is a weird thing. Isn't it weird? Weird thing. Afro Jam says Vianello also came out of the same police academy, the police boxing academy in Italy. He used to be quite successful in the past. Okay, I didn't know that. So Vianello is also a policeman. 5-0 in the place. Earth Summed Up says, Hatman, do you think the loss has deeply affected Fury? I think a second loss would affect him a lot more deeply because he's still claiming that he won the fight. I mean, I know he contradicts it. Sometimes he says, oh, Usyk won, and then the other times he says, I won the fight. It's like with Deontay Wilder when he lost to Tyson Fury the second time. Yes, it affected him, but he managed to clutch at enough straws to build his confidence back up to go in there for a trilogy, right? But after the third Fury fight, Wilder was finished. It done him in psychologically. And so if Fury loses to Usyk again, I reckon it will do him in. It will do him in. Especially if he loses more conclusively or gets stopped. Yeah, Fury will be done in mentally. But I think he's relatively okay now. He's got the excuses he needs in his head. He's put some weight on. He's, got his people around him, G'ing him up. Leah Potts says, if Usyk stops Fury next fight, do you think he will get the credit? No, he won't. No, he won't. Simon Jordan has already said that if Usyk wins again, it's because Fury's past it. So he's got his get out clause right there. I mean, it's ridiculous for Simon Jordan to act like Fury wasn't already over the hill before the first Usyk fight, because he clearly was. Usyk is not as good as he used to be a few years ago. Neither is Fury. But somehow Simon Jordan's acting like Usyk is unaffected by his advanced age, right? But he was acting like Fury was unaffected. But if we see the best Tyson Fury, and again, this other weird notion, Darren Barker, who is as dumb as a box of rocks, he does my head in, Darren Barker. He's so dumb, that guy. Same as Spencer Oliver. The pair of them don't have 2 brain cells to rub together combined. And Darren Barker was pushing this notion that in the first, he was there with Ade Oladipo. They were doing this discussion thing, play acting thing about how the rematch might go. And Darren Barker was there, as dumb as he is, talking about, oh, Fury was just having too much fun and he got caught. What on earth are you talking about? It wasn't one punch that changed the trajectory of the fight. It was multiple punches over the course of 3 rounds. It started in round 7. Fury started getting caught again in round 7. If it was just a momentary lapse, then he would have corrected the things he was doing wrong in round 7, and Usyk shouldn't have been able to touch him for the rest of the fight. But no, nothing was corrected. He got caught in round 7 with some big shots, got caught with even more big shots in round 8 and didn't correct them, didn't correct the mistakes, and got caught with even bigger shots in round 9 and got himself in trouble. That is not a momentary lapse. Clearly, it's not a momentary lapse. A momentary lapse is like one shot that catches you out of the blue and changes the trajectory of the fight. That is what Tyson Fury's been trying to push, but it's simply absolute, complete and utter bull. That's what it is. It's bull. Absolute rubbish. The shot started landing from round 7. Fury started getting caught with clean headshots. Again, because he was getting caught with clean headshots in the first 3 rounds, and there was 4, 5, 6 where he wasn't. From round 7, he started getting caught with clean shots again. Why didn't he correct it? I tell you why he didn't correct it, because he couldn't. Because Tyson Fury is used to fighting with his hands down. That's how he gets the flow of his boxing. That's how he gets, you know, the speed and being able to bring the jab up from a low angle and catch you and all that kind of stuff. That's how he feels relaxed in his shoulders. Yeah? So it's a style thing. Tyson Fury fighting with his hands low caught up to him in round 7 because his legs started getting tired. And his legs started getting tired because of Usyk's pressure and body punches. Had nothing to do with Fury, you know, momentary lapse. And it's all absolute rubbish. Honestly. But what would you expect from Darren Barker? Man, dumb as a box of rocks. Same as Spencer Oliver, who's, oh my gosh. How many, is it just me, or do you find Spencer Oliver impossible to watch? See, Simon Jordan is actually quite an intelligent man, but he has this bias for Tyson Fury. Yeah? But he is actually quite bright and quite sharp. But yeah, the Fury bias thing and not giving Usyk credit, oh my gosh. So anyway, long story short, Usyk's not going to get credit if he beats Tyson Fury. He's not going to get it. It's going to be like Simon Jordan and the boxing establishment looking around for who next can they get? Because they don't want Usyk as champion. He's the unwanted champion. He's the champion that the boxing establishment do not want, because they can't make money out of him like they can make out of Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua or Daniel Dubois. He can't make that kind of money out of him because he's not tied down to a long-term contract with any of them. And he's not in the Anglosphere. And the Anglosphere is where you make the big bucks in boxing. He's not in it. So, shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says Spencer Oliver acts like he's lobotomized. To be fair, he almost was. Spencer Oliver is one of the few fighters in boxing who suffered a serious brain injury and actually made a full recovery. And, you know, he did very, very well there, because I remember when Spencer Oliver got that terrible injury. But I don't think that's the reason that he's as dumb as a box of rocks. I think that's just how he would have been even without that brain injury. Boxing Media TV says, Spencer Oliver, Darren Barker, Tony Bellew, and Gareth A. Davis, nightmare blunt rotation. Again, well, Gareth A. Davis he's a tough. Is he intelligent? He's well read and he's worldly. I'd say he's an intelligent man, but he's a weak man. Yeah, he's intelligent, but he's weak. Fatality DMB said Frutch wrestled Gad to the floor on the beach. I didn't actually see that. I didn't see that, but it sounds funny. Star Fox says Gad was definitely bullied at school. Well, surely he went to public school. And it is kind of a weird oxymoron, isn't it? In the UK, public school is actually private school. What Americans call public school is what Brits call comprehensive school, right? But yeah, Gareth A. Davis, for the sake of American viewers, surely went to private school. Pretty sure he did. So he would have went to school with a bunch of people like him. Charles B says Spencer is a low IQ NPC. Can't argue with that. Robert Kelly says, I liked him with Clarkson and Hammond on Top Gear though. Leah says, Frotch stuck it on Chisora also. The man has no fear at all. Gotta love Frotch. Well, yeah, you know, Frotch doing his thing. Chisora could literally snap Carl Frotch in half and eat him for breakfast. Let's be real. Matt says, did you hear the state of Joe Joyce's speech? Yeah, I heard people refer to it, but personally, I didn't notice any difference. Joe Joyce has always spoken like that, you know? And I've always wondered whether the accident that Joe Joyce had that caused him to have that big scar on his face was also responsible for why he's so slow in his speech and what have you. I mean, I saw interviews years ago, when Joe Joyce was still unbeaten, where they would ask him a question and the man would literally sit there for 10, 20 seconds and he couldn't get his words out. And the interviewer actually had to fill in the blanks for him and start answering the question for him. So I've been watching, unfortunately, I've been watching Joe Joyce interviews for years. And he's always been a terrible speaker, terrible talker. He's always been like that. So shout out to Charles B for the super chat. Salute. Big respect every time to Charles B. Salute, salute. Much appreciated. Boxing Media TV says, Hatman, do you think Fury had or has this weird magnetism which sucked in Parker, Gad, Ben Davis, and Simon Jordan? Yes, he does. I've spoken about this in some videos in the past. He does have this magnetism about him. And one thing that is clear to me about Tyson Fury is that he's good to the people around him. Yeah, he's good to the people around him. You know, if you're in Tyson Fury's training camp as a sparring partner or a coach or anything like that, he's going to treat you well, very well, from what I hear. So you could see that as him just being a nice guy to the people he knows, the people who are on his team. If you wanted to be cynical, you could see it as Tyson Fury buying loyalty. You know, and there's a weird combination with the Furies because on one hand, they're bullies, right? John Fury, certainly, you know, by extension, Frank Warren is a big time bully. You know, the way he bullies people in the media and all that. So he's a bully. John Fury's a bully. Tyson, he can be a little bit of a bully. He's not as bad as John or Frank Warren, but he can be a little bit of a bully. But they demand that everybody adhere to their program and their regimen, don't they? Because Adeola Depot was talking about how because he picked Usyk to win the first fight with Fury, the Furies were really unhappy with him. It's like, hang on, is he supposed to be a Fury fan or what? He's supposed to be a media guy. He's supposed to be a media guy. He's not supposed to be like partisan. I mean, maybe he is partisan for certain people like AJ, for example, but he's not supposed to be. So you shouldn't be upset if a media guy is picking you to be defeated in a fight. That shouldn't upset you at all. Media is supposed to be there to give impartial opinions. It's not about who they necessarily want to win, it's who they think is going to win. And when Ade Oladipo picked Usyk, apparently the Furies got really upset with him. I see these guys. Do you think that Usyk got upset with anyone who picked Fury to win? Anyway. Charles B says Fury was a likable character once upon a time. Yeah, he was. The pre-hiatus Fury was likable. I liked him. I thought he was, funny, quirky, and what have you. I liked the as I say, hiatus Tyson Fury, the legendary. I sound like a flirter. Legendary. The legendary ringside interview. The very brief ringside interview where he was talking about David Price and Tony Bellew. That will go down in history as one of the funniest, certainly UK, but I want to say in any country, boxing interviews of all time. Hilarious. The plumber from Liverpool, yeah. Waved says, do you miss Billy Joe Saunders in boxing? Not at all. Billy Joe Saunders in boxing to me is a shoulder shrugger. I never thought Billy Joe was that funny, to be honest. Tyson Fury back in the day was funny. Billy Joe was just whatever. Charles B says some of the IFL interviews too comedy gold. Yep. Yeah. Tyson Fury used to actually be a good interview and he was a funny guy. But something happened during his hiatus. If you imagine it like a caterpillar that turns into a chrysalis. When the creature emerges on the other side of that metamorphosis, sometimes it's a butterfly and other times it's a moth. All right. And so Tyson Fury, the caterpillar, before his hiatus, he went into the chrysalis after the Klitschko fight. And instead of coming out as a beautiful butterfly, he came out as a ugly moth. That's what happened. I remember seeing a meme one time that said, moths are just butterflies from Peckham. For those who are not familiar with London or the UK, Peckham's like the ghetto, right? So that's what happened to Tyson Fury. Yeah, Charles B says he forces it now. It's unnatural indeed. Fury's routine is just so tired at this point. I can't watch Tyson Fury interviews because it's just going to be the same old, bullying of the interviewer and kiss my feet and just the same old rhetoric. It's not interesting at all. It's like Usyk, even though he doesn't speak English, he's the charismatic guy now in the heavyweight division, isn't he? He's like the most charismatic guy and he doesn't even speak English. Or, little bits and bobs. Fury used to be Mr. Charisma. Now he's burned out on charisma. His charisma's burned out and Usyk has got it. Black Dynamite says Peckham not tougher than Penge though. Yeah, Lois Jr. saying he comes from the jungle of Penge. I mean, what is this guy talking about? Alois Jr. had a nice knockout over the weekend, but yeah, he's a little off in his personality, Alois Jr. He's a little over the top, to put it mildly. Joel says, so bizarre that Fury's comeback was so revolved around mental health. Since the Wilder fights, he's for some reason taken on the role of this nasty, belligerent figure. Maybe it's success. Some people, success goes to their head. The Tyson Fury of old, the pre-hiatus Fury, wasn't as full of himself and wasn't as sure of himself as this version of Fury. He still had some doubts. There was still, and it might sound strange, there was still a certain innocence to Tyson Fury pre-hiatus. But the post-hiatus Tyson Fury is like a sinister character. You know what I mean? Not as sinister as his dad, but he's still a somewhat sinister character post-hiatus. Andrew says, Hatman, do you know what the deal is with Chris Andre? He's just doing his thing now. You know, he's got a life and he's got stuff to do. There was a couple of people who spoke to him that are members of my Element group. And as far as I'm aware, he's fine. He's cool. But, you know, he's got a life to get on with. Ocean Blue says, imagine crying after winning an Intercontinental title. Robert Kelly says, nothing wrong with crying after winning, to be fair, Ocean. Well, I think the point Ocean is making, and I agree with it, is if you became undisputed champion or if you achieved something really big, and by the way, Alois Jr. is saying that he's going to be like undisputed cruiserweight champion, he's going to be the next big thing, right? If you achieve that goal, if you became undisputed, I can understand tears of joy. Usyk cried tears of joy when he became heavyweight champion. I can understand it. But Alois Jr. beat some obscure fighter, right, for some random obscure trinket of a belt. And he fell down on his hands and knees like he was playing air guitar. You know, like the rock and roll guitar players of old would slide across the stage on their knees. Right, and fans of them would do the same thing in their kitchen across the lino, and they're playing the air guitar on their knees. Yeah, Alois Jr. dropped to his knees like he was playing air guitar, like an air guitar solo, crying, screaming after he got the decision. I'm like, that's a bit off. You beat some random guy, some obscure opponent on points. You're on your knees playing air guitar, crying. I don't know what that's all about. Dr. Wu says, what happened to Ed Robertson from toe to toe? I thought he still had lots to offer. I think Ed Robertson still works at Sky, but behind the scenes, don't quote me on that, but I think I heard that he still works there, but he's just a behind the scenes guy now. He's no longer on camera. I never liked Ed Robertson personally. Nothing against him, but I just thought he was like horribly bland. La Cosa Nostra Gaming says Fury cried when he beat McDermott. He did, but that was a torrid fight for Fury. A torrid fight. And I should probably add that caveat. Thank you, La Cosa Nostra Gaming. Thank you for mentioning that, because I should add a caveat. If you're in a really torrid fight where you have to go to the depths of, plumb the depths of your soul to find the energy and the strength to get through a particular fight, I can understand you crying tears of joy if you win. Yeah. And that's what Fury had to do against McDermott. That was a very, very tough fight. Both fights were, but the rematch, even though Fury won by stoppage, oh my God, he had to go to the depths of his soul to find a way to win that fight. Yeah. So, he was young and whatever. So yeah, I can understand why Fury was emotional after that bout. But the Alois Jr. fight, where he dropped down to his knees crying, it wasn't like that. It was a boring fight. It was literally like watching paint dry. Alois never really got hit with a load of big shots. He was never in any trouble. It was a really pedestrian fight against this obscure guy who was boxing on the back foot and was kind of defensively a bit cute and whatever. And Alois was just walking him down, and it was a mundane fight. Wasn't a thriller in Manila. Wasn't even like Fury McDermott 2. So again, Alois Jr. is a guy who says he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread and this, that, and the other. And he claimed that he's from the mean streets, the jungle. He came out the jungle. The guy's from Penge. He's from Penge. I'm from South London. I know these areas. I know Penge. I was dealing with some crazy chick from down Penge. I won't go there. She's crazy as hell. Penge is more like a vegetable garden. That's about how close Penge is to a jungle. It's like a vegetable garden. And Alois Jr. is like, I came from the jungle and Penge. And give it a rest. Okay, so that's the kind of personality he is. He exaggerates things in his mind, you know? Everything to him is like this epic thriller action flick. That's what he thinks his life is. It's an epic. But in reality, it's like vegetable garden and a mundane fight against an obscure opponent for a meaningless belt. So yeah, he's got a weird mindset, that guy. Shout out to Martin Wood Wilkinson. Can we get some more likes? Yes, please. Help a man out here. Stick some likes. We got 250 concurrent viewers. We need to have at least 125 likes. We got 80. Thank you for everybody who's liked the video so far. We would like a few more. It helps these streams get seen. Where's my yellow background gone? Okay, we got it back on there. Ghetto Genius says, meaningless belt to who though? To most people? Does anybody care about becoming WBO or WBC Intercontinental Champion? You know, if you're somebody that says you're going to become undisputed, you're not going to care about a belt like that. You think Alexander Usyk cares about some Intercontinental belt? He probably won one back in the days. You think Terence Crawford cares about an Intercontinental belt he won once upon a time? People don't care because they know they're going on to, you know, much bigger and better things. Even when AJ won the IBF, a proper world title against Charles Martin, he didn't care. You remember the interview he did after that fight with Kugan Cassius? And Kugan was like, why are you not excited, AJ? And AJ was like, this is not the end goal. This is just a stepping stone. And Kugan couldn't understand it. I could completely understand it. You know, so I'm not trying to be overly harsh on Alois Jr., right? I wish him all the best. But he's just got a mind that exaggerates everything. That's all I'm saying. And that means that a lot of his behavior is a bit off, a bit over the top, you know? A lot of the stuff he says is over the top, like very over the top. And he doesn't say it in kind of a, like Andrew Tate, for example, Top G. He says a lot of stuff which is over the top, sarcastically. Some people don't seem to get it. And I'm no Andrew Tate fanboy, by the way. Right? I find him funny, but I don't see him as any kind of role model, right? But his rhetoric is funny. In the same way that, you know, some of Donald Trump's rhetoric is funny. I'm no Trump fan. I don't like politics. I don't like politicians, including Trump. But from an entertainment perspective, Trump is funny. Okay? Andrew Tate is funny. Although with Tate specifically, you know, a lot of people don't get when he's being sarcastic and he comes out and says outrageous things. He's clearly being sarcastic. Because sometimes he will like start laughing after he said it. So yeah, he says over the top things. You know, like when he is talking about modern women and he says, Abdul, get the rocks. Get the rocks, Abdul. I mean, he's clearly joking. God damn it. People think, oh my God, he's advocating it. No. It's just like lad's humor. He's joking. Good God, man. But yeah, Alois Jr. is not like that. When he comes out with these bizarre, you know, over the top statements, It's not tongue in cheek. He believes it. When he says that Penge is the jungle, he actually believes that in his mind. He believes in his mind that a vegetable garden is the jungle, full of lions and tigers and... A Black Dynamite says, what boxer from the past would you say Aloy's mindset reminds you of? Maybe Herbie Hyde a little bit. Maybe Herbie Hyde a little bit. Yeah, Herbie Hyde. He was also Nigerian and a very emotional character, Herbie Hyde. Like Aloy's, Hyde was very, very emotional. No, he didn't mean it in the boxing sense. He spoke specifically about the neighborhood he was from, Penge. And that he was on the streets of Penge and he was the jungle. And like, bro, stop it. Some of us are actually from South London, so we know that you're talking rubbish. Penge has never been a jungle. Stop it. Afro Jam says Penge isn't a great area by any means. It's right next to South Norwood though. Penge is just like, how would you even describe Penge? It's a non-entity. It's not like a posh area or anything like that. No, it's not like a upper class area. It's just a non-entity, you know? The rough areas, back in the days at least, now it's slightly changed, but the rough areas back in the days in South were Brixton, Peckham, Camberwell to a lesser degree, certain parts of Kennington. And there was some, you know, rough people that came out of Streatham back in the days. Thornton Heath, Croydon, Lewisham, yeah. Penge. I mean, even Woolwich. But Penge, Penge is a non-entity. It was just there. But it was never some area where there was loads of action, you know, loads of like serious people coming. No, this is a non-entity. Black Dynamite says, is Penge equivalent to Handsworth or Lozells in Birmingham? Not even close. Not even close. Handsworth, Lozells are way, way rougher than Penge. It's not even close. And I know Handsworth and Lozells well. Shout out to Ali for the super chat. He says, I know Aloys, we were in the same school year. I've trained with him before. As kids, he seemed normal. There you go. This guy likes Aloys. Shout out for the super chat. Seem normal. Or maybe he's normal in real life, but from what I've seen of him, his behavior in his interviews, that was pretty abnormal. But shout out to Ali again. Yeah, straight out of Penge. Exactly that, Afro Jam. Penge used to be a cut through. Yeah, you cut through Penge to get somewhere. It's not a place that anything really goes on. It's almost like a backwater by London standards, you know? It's just... But yeah, Lozells and Handsworth, back in the days anyway, were very rough. I used to date a girl from Handsworth. And I saw some stuff down there, boy. Handsworth, Newtown, Lozells, all those areas back in the days are very rough. And, you know, the thing about those areas of Birmingham is that Birmingham, you see, the Caribbean community, and I know the dynamics have shifted a little bit, but there was a massive Jamaican community in Birmingham those times. I think there's a lot more Africans there now, but back in the days it was heavily Jamaican. And unlike London, Birmingham never had any like affluent Caribbean people, really. Everybody was poor and there was nowhere to go. Yeah, Birmingham is dead for nightlife, or at least it was back then, presumably still is now. It was so dead. Nobody had anything to do. Not gonna lie, Birmingham was a depressing place. And so it wasn't surprising that there was so much trouble when it was so rough in those areas, because there was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. It was so dead out. Honestly, it's so dead. The only thing people had to do is just beef and fight and, you know, get into trouble. Because there's nothing to do there. The nightlife, oh my God. When I was dating that girl, we went to, what's the road? I forget the name of that road now. But there was a few like dead, dusty clubs on that road in the center of Birmingham. What's the road called again now? You guys know what I'm talking about. Broad Street, thank you. Yeah, Broad Street with a big Tesco across. I'm not sure if the big Tesco is there. So yeah, we went out. You know, me and this girl I was dating from Birmingham a couple times back in the days. Broad Street, and there was another place which is a bit down from there. What's it called? The Box something Box. I forget the name of it. But we went to a couple places and I was like, wow, this town is so dead. I was amazed by how dead. Mailbox, thank you. Yeah. I was amazed by how dead the nightlife was in Birmingham. It's a shocker. Everything closed early as well. It's not like central London. In central London, it's like a 24-hour city. Nothing closes in, well, things do close in central London, but there's always something open in central London, 24 hours a day. Whereas in Birmingham, it's like everything closes, everything lock off, you know, like Section Boys, everything lock off, everything closes. At like 11 in Birmingham, or at least it did back then. No night buses. Like, this place is so dead. And, you know, Birmingham, the times when I went out in the center of Birmingham, it was just full of, even in the daytime, it was full of ghetto black people, Jamaicans specifically, and chavs. That was the center of Birmingham. It's like ghetto black people and chavs. Chavs that would wear kappa, and they would wear Rockport shoes and pull their socks up over their jogging bottoms. You know them ones. That's what the center of Birmingham was full of. Like ghetto black people and chavs. Looking like 28 days later. Yeah, exactly that. That's what it was like. Charles B says, Hatman, did you ever go to the custard factory? I don't think so. Doesn't sound very appealing, actually. I'm not sure why they would name it that. I guess maybe it was an old custard factory or something, right? That got converted into a nightclub. Look at me dissing Birmingham. I know there's a lot of you from Birmingham in the chat by the knowledge you have of the place. Okay, so it was the old Birds Custard Factory. Shout out to the final boss for the super chat. He says Hagler versus GGG, Marciano versus Frazier. I got Frazier over Marciano all day. Hagler versus Triple G. Oh, that's such a tough fight. People have asked me that one before, and some people get offended. I think I might have picked Triple G over Hagler before, and some people got offended. You know, I'm not one of these old guys with rose-tinted glasses on. I can appreciate newer fighters that come along. And at the end of the day, it's styles make fights. Even if Hagler overall has a better resume and was undisputed champion and had a longer run than Golovkin, if that is the case, that doesn't necessarily mean that he could have or would have beaten Golovkin in a fight. Because again, styles make fights. Boxing is rock, paper, scissors. So, and one of the reasons I think I picked Golovkin over Hagler, like on points, is because Hagler, by modern standards, wouldn't even be a middleweight, because he was competing at middleweight at a time when you used to weigh in on the day of the fight. Yeah, Hagler was only 5'8". You know that? 5 foot 8 inches tall, 5'8", 5'9". Golovkin's like 5'10", 5'11". And if you're weighing in on the day of the fight, you're not draining yourself that much. So Hagler was significantly smaller than Golovkin. Hagler today, this might sound crazy to some people, Hagler today might actually be a light, either a junior middleweight or a welterweight. Yeah. Because these guys are weighing in on the day of the fight. So they couldn't lose the crazy amounts, dehydrate the crazy amounts that middleweights do today. Not that Golovkin was the biggest middleweight in the world, but he was a pretty decent sized middleweight. So, I don't know. I'll probably go with Golovkin on points. But then again, if you make it a 15 rounder, we've never seen Golovkin do 15 rounds. So, you could argue that Hagler would take it. Who knows? But shout out to Final Boss for the super chat, all the same. Stewie D Boss says Triple G is 5'8". Nah, he ain't 5'8". He ain't 5'8". He's taller than that. Let me get his box rec page up, I'll show you. Golovkin on box rec is listed at 5'10" and a half. And that seems about right to me. I've seen Golovkin in real life. Yeah, I reckon he's about 5'10", 5'10" and a half is about there. Hagler's 5'8", 5'8", 5'9". And small by today's middleweight standards. But the thing that most old timers, people my age, tend to do is just always favor the fighter who is from my era, over the modern fighters. Oh, they would have never lived with the fighters from my day. It's like the default answer, isn't it, for old people? Fighters in my day were always better. It's like, come on, man. The old timers, when I was young, was saying the same thing. Oh, Lennox Lewis is rubbish. He never would have lived with Muhammad Ali. He never would have lived with Rocky Marciano. He never would have lived with Joe Louis. He never would have lived with Larry Holmes. They were saying the same thing. So I don't get caught up in all that. Kylie says Hagler had a long reach. Yeah, he had a very long reach. Unusually long reach for a guy who's only 5'8". 75-inch reach. Crazy, actually. And he was a switch hitter. Southpaw orthodox. Very good fighter, Hagler. Great chin, just like Triple G. Shout out to Black Dynamite for the super chat. He says, who you got in a fantasy matchup between AJ and Corey Sanders? I got... Oh, God, that's such a tough fight. I'm going to go with Corey Sanders by knockout. And the thing is, I don't think Corey Sanders could have beaten all the guys that AJ beat. I think he probably would have lost to certain fighters who AJ beat. I reckon Corey Sanders would have lost to Parker. I reckon Corey Sanders might have lost to Povetkin. Because Corey Sanders lost, quite a few fights. And I know the guys, the styles that beat him. Hasim Ratman was somebody to beat him. So I don't think Corey Sanders would have necessarily beaten all the people that AJ beat. But stylistically, I don't know, maybe he would have done AJ. Chinned him. The way he chinned Vladimir Klitschko. Because he was very fast, Corey Sanders. Very fast. Tremendous hand speed. Tremendous hand speed. And he would always go for it early. if you could get past the first 3-4 rounds against Corey Sanders, you could usually get him if you're a, high level fighter. But getting past those first 3-4 rounds was treacherous, because this guy would be throwing that fast left hand out there. And once he catches you, he would unload on you. What? Corey Sanders had crazy hand speed. Never mind the Corey Sanders who fought Vitaly Klitschko. He was fat. He'd made loads of money from beating Vladimir. Guy was the size of a whale. Okay? That ain't a prime Corey Sanders. Go have a look when Corey Sanders was in shape. When he fought people like Bobby Ches. The hand speed was insane. It was insane. And that left hand was a thing of beauty. He's still my favorite. Well, Usyk is up there in terms of my favorite southpaw heavyweights of all time. It's between Usyk and Corey Sanders, my favorite southpaw heavyweight. Sanders was a bigger puncher than Usyk, So I did like watching him fight. I liked his style. Always, looking for that big left hand. And whenever it landed, it was literally like Corey Sanders' left hand was similar to Wilder's right hand, in a sense that as soon as it lands, there's problems for the other guy. It only has to land once and the other guy's in serious trouble. That's what his left hand was like. And he would throw it often. Jake says, Hatman, bar Tyson, who else at heavyweight would you say was a really fast starter? Well, Corey Sanders. Corey Sanders was a really fast starter. So was Shannon Briggs. In fact, Shannon Briggs, in his early days, was even more of a fast starter in some ways than Mike Tyson, because Shannon Briggs has, I gotta reload. What is going on with this stream here? Yeah, Shannon Briggs Okay, yeah. Shannon Briggs, I was just checking my stream hadn't gone. Shannon Briggs has got more first round knockouts on his record than any other heavyweight champion in history. So early on in his career, he was an extremely fast starter. He would just come flying out the gate, tearing into guys. Back when he had the blonde dreadlocks. And he had very fast hands, Shannon Briggs. And because, according to him, it was because of his asthma. That's why he'd try to get fights over quickly. Because he always worried about gassing out. Yeah, Corey Sanders, unfortunately, was killed in a robbery when his daughter's party, whatever it was, some kind of gathering they had, was crashed by some lowlifes, and they shot up the place, and Corey Sanders dived in front of his daughter, as somebody said there, trying to save her from being hit, and he took the bullet himself. Corey Sanders was from Pretoria, which is a very, very dangerous place. But interestingly enough, the people responsible for his death were not actually from South Africa. I think they were from Zimbabwe. So they might have been illegals. You know, people talk about illegals this, illegals that, you know, in many Western countries. South Africans really hate illegals. You know what I mean? Like black South Africans I'm talking about, they hate illegals there. You know, to the point where they attack them in the street and target their businesses and all that type of stuff. They really go in on illegals. Not just illegals either, but immigrants in general. Black South Africans do not like immigrants from other African countries, generally speaking. You know, they attack Nigerians, they attack Ugandans and Zimbabweans and all sorts of other people there. South Africa is very wild. Too wild for me. Callum says, Did you see the Mayweather situation in London? Yeah, I saw it. You know, Mayweather doing what Mayweather does, supporting the things that he supports, and you know, people pulling him up over it. It is what it is. La Costa Nostra Gaming says, I'm still amazed Briggs didn't die in the Vitali fight, and me too. The referee that night was Ian John Lewis. You know, he eventually, for a different reason, was demoted by the British Boxing Board of Control. They should have demoted him for his performance in that Vitaly Klitschko Shannon Briggs fight. That was shocking. That fight should have been stopped on multiple occasions. Never mind what Briggs told Ian John Lewis before the fight, not to stop it under any, you know, come on. Referees can't be taking instructions from the fighters. It's supposed to be the other way around. You know, terrible of Ian John Lewis to let that fight go on the way he did. Terrible. All right, peeps, I'm going to bring this stream to a close here. Shout out to each and every one of you for joining me once again. I've definitely enjoyed our discussion. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves. Be good. Special shout out and big respect to everybody who donated via Super Chat. In general, thank you to everybody, Super Chat or not included. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be good. Take care. I'm out.